Hey guys, Basement Horrors here. Today I have a few very creepy stories lined up. Now I normally read off of the Let's Not Meet subreddit, but today I'm going to be reading from the No Sleep subreddit. The difference between the two is Let's Not Meet is always completely true stories, and No Sleep is true or untrue stories, but they are always very realistic. So, let's start with number 1. I break into homes, possibly yours. I break into homes. It's a compulsion. Houses, apartments, mansions, trailers. I don't care what you live in. Transgression entices me. We're born into the world with no laws written into our brains. All of that has to be learned, and it's strange to me. Why should someone else claim that a particular piece of the earth is theirs, that they have dominion over it? I never agreed to that rule. Maybe you do, maybe most do. That's probably why the world works. But none of you asked for my consent. So I go into your homes. I run my fingers over precious things, pick up fragile glass statues and carelessly toss them into the air. Sometimes I drop them. I lick silverware and put them back in drawers. I open all the doors. My fingerprints are everywhere. I'm not careful. That's not the point. What I mean to do is recognize a boundary, see where someone does not want others to be, and then to transgress. I revel in this act. I want them to know someone has been there, to shudder when they realize their privacy has been violated, to realize nowhere is sacred, that I might know their secrets, that the home does not mean safe. I'm writing on a computer that is not my own, in a house at the end of a tree-lined street. A family of 4 lives here. They are all in their beds now. Father, mother, and 2 daughters. A 3rd child is on the way, and they believe it'll be a boy. There are little blue clothes in the freshly painted nursery. I took a pacifier and ran it over my skin. I loosened several screws from the crib. It won't collapse right away. Perhaps someday. In one of the girls' bedrooms, the smaller room, so I presume the younger sister, I find a knife, hidden in a locked jewelry box, and the jewelry box was concealed under a pile of junk in her closet. The knife is covered in blood. There's blood in the jewelry box too. But that's not the best part. Also in the box are several stories cut out from the newspaper about a local girl who's recently gone missing. Little sister, what are you doing? What secrets you have? I lick the knife. The blood excites me. I don't lick it all off. Only some. Clearly, little sister wanted blood left on the knife. She'd like seeing it there. I wouldn't deny her that. I put the knife in the closet, but not where I'd found it. I want her to know someone has her secret treasure. She'll worry in bed every night that her parents know, that they're thinking of how to talk to her about what she's done, possibly worse. Maybe they'll go to the police. Perhaps she should kill them before they get the chance, or it was her older sister who found it. Does she need to kill her whole family? Will she use the same knife for all of them, or a different one for each member of her family? Start a collection. Oh, little sister, I can't wait to see what you do. What boundary will you transgress? I still loved you. These were the words I found written in lipstick on the bathroom mirror, moments before I found my ex-girlfriend, or what was left of her. Her pale body is still as porcelain as the day we met. Its only flaw being the 2 thin lines she'd carved into her wrists. She had apparently pulled the curtain to the bathtub only as an afterthought, evidenced by the blood stain trickling down the side of it. A cheap plastic divider that had grown thin and filthy with the years had been the last thing she touched. Grief is a funny thing. It hits you in waves. After the initial shock of seeing her there, in a moment where one would expect to cry or scream, all I could do was stare. It was like a state of emotional catatonia, my mind functioning on a purely logical basis. The gray matter would only accept and process simple commands that related to solving the anomaly before me. Girlfriend dead. Okay. Call the cops. Okay, done. Wash your hands. Good. Down. Sit down. Wait. Good dog. The scene was so obviously a suicide attempt that, naturally, the police suspected me of foul play. Everything was just too perfect. They questioned me for several hours, but apparently didn't have grounds to arrest me. They said they'd contact her family and continue to investigate. As my apartment was now a crime scene, they advised me to get a hotel room somewhere in town, and to stay put. My mind handled this with the same rigid, unforgiving clarity I had before, but some of the gears were starting to come loose in my mind, both from physical exhaustion and the creeping onset of emotional trauma. I don't remember how I got to the hotel room. My brain had apparently turned off my short-term memory in order to focus on all its remaining energy on completing the tasks before it. I checked in. My brain checked out. And with it, all of the cognitive safeguards that had been holding me together for the past 8 hours. The second my door shut, I fell to the floor in a heap. I couldn't even make it the 4 feet to my bed. I just lay there sobbing into my hands as the sorrow and guilt enveloped me in a suffocating miasma of psychological agony. I think I might have killed myself that night. I certainly came close. I didn't own a gun or really any method capable of quickly and relatively painlessly ending my life. But the hotel had complimentary razors. I could go out the way that she went. It would certainly be poetic, like Romeo and Juliet if their last words to each other had been a verbal orgy of swears and professions of hatred for each other. She'd said things that she didn't mean. I'd said things that I meant but had successfully repressed up to that point. To her credit, she wanted things to continue and was willing to let even the cruel things I'd said to her go, but the damage was done. I didn't love her anymore, yet apparently she still loved me. I just never thought she'd go to such lengths to make that point. I opened the bathroom door and a phantom of the scene from earlier flashed before me. The same drawn curtain, shadowy outline of my ex's corpse, and the same message upon the mirror. It was only an instant, brought on by sleep deprivation and my obvious trauma. I closed my eyes and opened them again. The shadow vanished. The curtain was open. The final, ominous message was scrubbed clean from my mirror. I laid down in the tub and turned on the water. The frigid liquid didn't even faze me. My legs broke out in goosebumps, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. Fidgeting with the razor in my hand, I considered suicide for a final moment before setting it aside and remembering all the lovely platitudes that I'd heard over the years. Ancient truisms that talked me out of what would have been a gruesome and pointless end. Besides, there would be plenty of time to change my mind later if needed. The goosebumps continued to form on my leg, growing thicker and somehow firmer. The light bulb flickered and I was again having that same phantom vision again. Only this time the shadow was much smaller. Just the upper half of a face, her long black hair tangled and drenched as she stared at me from inside the bathtub. The grotesque visage only lasted a moment, but the clarity was undeniable. The bulb flashed again and she appeared once more closer, but still just the top of her head. When the light returned, I Hopped out of the bathtub in a panic and tried to convince myself it was all just from stress. And yet, while the shadow was gone, the message remained, still stained on my new bathroom mirror. A sudden clarity overtook me then, and it served as a stern reminder, plastered on every mirror I passed since. Every reflective surface bears that message she left before her end, and every time the lights go out, no matter how briefly, I see her rotting figure peeking me from around a corner, underneath a bed, outside my window, or somewhere just within my peripheral vision. But I understand now. My girlfriend had loved me, but she doesn't anymore.
Bring it back to you. You put me through shit, I'ma pull you a ruler. Motherfucker, you just swear that I'm stupid. I think you walking stupid like Drula. Stupid little bitch, wanna fuck with little shady. Stupid little bitch, gonna get it the baby. Stupid little hoe, gonna get it like yeah. Stupid little hoe, gonna get it like yeah.